Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Four Female Founders podcast series where women in business learn to thrive, not just survive. I'm your host, Sarah Bundy, and today I have a wonderful guest with me. Her name is Nayri, and she's an incredibly successful investor with over 80 properties and different businesses, different investments out there. And she's out there living her best life and is here to share her story of how she started from nothing, ground zero, and built her portfolio up over the last 12 years to add an amazing series of wealth and investment opportunities for herself, her family, her business partner, and those around her. So, Nayri, welcome to the show.
Sarah, I'm so honored to be here. Thank you so much. I'm excited to share some knowledge with everybody.
Yeah, please. So, please tell us how you got started, because one of my favorite things that I hear about is how people came from literally nothing, ground zero, and didn't have a whole lot going at that time to building these really big empires and this abundance of wealth. So,
hmm
tell us, where did you start and why? How did you even get into this?
Yeah, so the process has been very, very long. I've tried so many different things. Let me just start by saying I've had wins, meaning when I say wins, we're saying like made a lot of money and then I was too scared to invest. And then instead, I spent it on shopping and traveling. And then that wasn't there anymore. And I had to restart the cycle again. But third time around, I was like, okay, we've learned our lessons. It's time to invest. Stop being scared, because I used to be scared to invest, that take that first step towards investing. Even though all the numbers were there, it all made sense. I was too scared to move forward. But finally, about 12 years ago, my partner and I started investing slowly and moving forward. And I think the key is not to put all your eggs in one basket either. Just small investments here and there, and they all add up at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I think we're going to talk a little bit about that, how you choose the investments, what kinds of things you look for, what are even the numbers that you consider, whether
Mhm.
you're investing in a real estate property or whether you're investing in a small business. There's definitely going to be variables that you want to take a look at. But you said something super interesting, which is you're afraid to invest. And I find that a lot of people actually are afraid to invest. Why were you scared? And what was it that made you take that leap?
It was just, again, the numbers were all there. It was just I would question myself. For example, I years ago I looked at a property that would cash flow from day one, but in my mind I'm thinking, well, what if it doesn't? What if it just the numbers don't work out? And it's just if you stay in fear, you will always operate and see things that way. What if it doesn't? But what if it does? You can have a game plan. You can set money aside to cover expenses if, let's say, you don't have a tenant for 4 or 5 months. You can make it work. But it's just I had to take that leap of faith and finally move forward with an investment for sure.
Yeah, and I think to help people understand, what kind of investments we're talking about specifically in your portfolio, can you tell us a little bit about your portfolio and what it is that you invest in? What kind
Yeah,
of real estate, what kind of businesses?
absolutely. My partner and I are angel investors. We mostly invest in food companies that align with our values, and any company in the health space. That's our passion. And also we invest a lot heavily into real estate. I used to be a realtor in my early 20s, so it was so nice to learn so much about real estate. So now I know how to analyze a deal and see what we want to invest in. And we also do business loans, we do home loans. We just slowly started adding more to the portfolio. And we also we acquire businesses mostly in health, and then we partner up with other businesses where they bring us on as strategic partners to advise on marketing, strategic marketing advisory.
And you manage the financial elements of all of these deals and all the portfolios, is that right?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah,
And how
it's a
did you
big
get into
puzzle.
that?
What's
Do you have a
that?
background in finance? Do you have a background in finance?
No,
Or
so my parents are both CPAs, and it's so funny. I've always been incredibly good at math and puzzles, but I always stayed away from it. I used to say, "Oh, that's not sexy. That's not what I want to do." But then eventually I ended up in it by accident. I mean, I always say I attended University of YouTube, And that's how I learned, like watch YouTube and get mentors and read. I'm an avid reader, and I just taught myself how to just anything. I mean, QuickBooks to analyzing deals to organizing and investing. I'm just constantly consuming information.
It's one of the things that I'm starting to notice when I'm speaking to female founders and female business owners is this hunger and desire to understand how things work, and just having that energy and courage to go out and figure out how it works. Go do it. University of YouTube, go find mentors, immerse yourself in that particular industry. And it's becoming this recurring theme that
Yeah.
I'm starting to identify with the most successful um, business owners.
Hmm.
What kind of elements do you see when you're investing in a property or when you're investing in a business? What are the elements that, when you look at it, you go, "This is for sure going to be right"? Is it the leadership team? Do you guys lead it? Is it that there's a product that's new and innovative and no one has solved for that before? What are the variables that make sense
Not
to you
necessarily.
guys?
I really want to know who's running the show, and especially who's in charge of the finances. For example, if they're raising money for a startup, who's going to be in charge of deciding where the money is deployed? That's very important, for because any of us, you give us money, we can go through it just like that, but I need to know it's strategic. There's an ROI on the ads you're spending. What's the plan here? How involved is the founder, in day-to-day operations? And usually with some, depending on how much the investment is, if the founder is not willing to get on a call with me, because I need eye contact, I need to read their body language. If they're not willing to do that, then I'm just moving on. I don't care how amazing the returns are on paper. Anyone can put together an investment deck and make it look incredible. And it also needs to align with our beliefs. If it's a food company, the ingredients don't align with what we believe in, then I'm not going to invest in that, you know.
Absolutely. And what are some of the things that you believe in?
Um, well, if it's like food that's like vegan food, it's just doesn't align with us. So I'm not going to invest in that, for example. Not that I'm not putting anyone down. It just doesn't align with our beliefs. But also
Gotcha.
there's other things environmental. Like we've had so many people pitch us on oil and gas and incredible returns, but it doesn't align with our beliefs. I'm not, at the end of the day, it's not about money. What are you supporting? Who are you supporting? You know, that's important.
Going back to founders really quickly, I find it interesting. So if a founder is not going to get on a phone call with you, absolutely, that makes sense to me why you would not want to go pursue that particular business.
Yeah.
But as an investor, somebody who looks at acquiring other businesses, is it better that the founder is more in the day-to-day operations and kind of in the weeds and they're very familiar with the business? Or is it better that they have a strong team and they're kind of out of the weeds but leading it? They're still captaining the ship, but they're
Hmm.
less in the weeds. What do you prefer? Or
Well,
is there a preference?
a startup, I would want the founder to be involved. Anyone can go hire a team, but in any startup, usually the founder is very involved because that's the leader. That's the person who has the vision. So you can't just hire people and say, okay, this is what I want you to do and now take over. But what's the vision? What's the goal? What are we trying to do here? That's why I need them to be involved. Because I know I've been involved. I mean, now I'm not as involved as I used to be in our businesses, but in the beginning I was very involved. While you get it off the ground and you grow it, you need to be involved.
Yeah, and I know that relationships are extremely important to you.
Hmm.
The quality of people and the depth of those relationships and really understanding each other and being able to collaborate and work well together. Maybe you could talk a little bit about two things. One, what kinds of relationships do you think work best when it comes to business operations and leadership? And I'd love to hear from you about authenticity because you're one of the most authentic people. You wear your heart on your sleeve. You don't care what people think. You just are yourself, and it's amazing. I love it so much. So maybe you could talk about what. Let's start with the relationship question first. What do you look for when it comes to solid relationships and the ones that work best to have high functioning teams and high functioning companies?
In companies that we invest in.
Sure.
Yeah, so when I see someone that's leading with the ego, That's just never a good thing, you know. Like I have an investment right now. I'm about to pull my funds out because one of the founder is leading with ego, and if it's starting like this now, uh, it's not going to go well. Anytime you lead with ego, you just want things your way, you don't want to listen to anybody else, that for me does not work. It's a team collaboration. You need to be open to listen to other people. Just because you're the founder doesn't mean you're always right. Maybe you're missing something. To be curious, to learn, and from the other leaders in your company that's important.
And being able, to your point, being able to listen, ask the right questions, be open to other people's solutions and ideas and perspectives.
Exactly, yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for people who are trying to fit, let's say there are lots of founders who are listening to this podcast now. What words of advice would you have for them? Let's say they are in that place where they are leading with ego, just because they either don't know any differently, or they feel like they need to have all the answers. They feel like they have to look the strongest in the organization as the captain of the ship, right? Like,
Hmm.
how do we as founders and CEOs shift our mindsets to be able to move into humility
Yeah.
and collaboration if we are in that mindset right now?
Yeah.
Thanks to CJ for sponsoring this episode of the For Female Founders podcast series and for supporting our mission to help, mentor, and elevate women in business.
You can tell when someone is leading with their heart. For example, if it's a product base, and my first thought is one of the companies we've invested in, and it's they make uh, food for babies that's healthy. They're leading that company with their heart, and they're so open to feedback, and they want to provide good products. That's the difference versus I, I've seen it when someone is starting a company, they're already talking about their exit. Because to me, that feels like it's more money driven than the heart behind the business.
The
You know?
purpose. They're
Yeah.
missing their
They're
purpose.
missing
And
the
maybe they're
purpose.
not passionate. They're not passionate about it.
Exactly. Anytime I hear someone starting a business with the exit, they're already talking about the exit. They haven't even created the product yet. And I'm like, ugh, it just, there's no heart in that business, in my opinion.
So you're looking for businesses, and you feel like the best businesses are the ones where the founders have vision, they are passionate about what they do, they wear
Yes.
their heart on their sleeve, they know what problem they're solving, they create high quality products, they
Mm-hmm.
have relationships with their customers and their team.
Yeah.
They're respected,
Yeah.
right?
You can tell they care about the consumer, and it's not about building their wealth at the end of the day. The money will come,
Mm-hmm.
but it should be about the consumer.
Yeah, let's talk about the consumer a little bit, because I think a lot of people forget, like, that is the whole point, right? We're here to be able to service our customers and make sure that we're solving their problems better, faster, higher value than anybody else.
Mhm.
How do you recommend leaders really get under the hood of what makes their customers tick, and how the products and services that we create actually connect with them and solve those problems for them?
Hmm. I've seen people put together surveys for their customers because they really want that feedback to make the product better, and not just assume uh, that this is the best product and you must consume it and have it, but just actually get feedback from your customers. I've seen that work really, really well. So back to
Yeah, and I
the
think,
people.
go back to the people, and I come from the affiliate marketing space and the partnership marketing space, and one of the things that's very helpful for us as well is actually going straight to the affiliates, or the people who are doing the marketing, because oftentimes they get direct feedback. So I
Hmm.
think leveraging team, and I think, to your point, being able to reach your customers directly, whether that's through surveys or focus groups or social listening, are
Yeah,
all really important ways, so that we can understand, are we servicing the needs of our customers today? And if we're not, we got to shift, right?
yeah,
And
absolutely.
not forgetting as well the quality of the product, and the experience, right?
Yeah,
The customer experience.
for sure. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about authenticity,
Mhm.
because you are very authentic, and I know this is really important to you. We like working with people who we can trust, right?
Mhm.
It's hard to trust people who are not authentic. So tell me a little bit about you. How did you become such an authentic person, and what have you done in your life? How do you thrive and balance your life the way that you do?
Oh man, the authentic part, I don't know where that comes from. I've always been the oversharer, and just like everything comes out of my mouth, like I'm not I'm not trying to filter to look better, Especially, as a female entrepreneur, a lot of times women are just, they have a filter because they want to they want to be taken seriously. But with me, it's just, it's just the complete opposite. What you see is what you get. But it's worked really well because then people feel comfortable. They're like, she's not trying to impress me, she's being herself, and next thing you know, they are themselves too, and then they start opening up, and because of that, then we have a deeper bond beyond doing business together. So I feel like when you're authentic, it goes a long way. It's a long-term investment into
I will double
relationships.
down on that too. I 100% agree with you. And excuse me, I 100% agree with you. And when we are at networking events or conferences or working on partnerships, as soon as walls come down, that's when I see magic happen. That's when opportunities really come to the table. And so if we're kind of walking around with this wall up, it just
Hmm.
delays the process and it reduces, people's ability to trust.
Yeah.
So once that comes down, I think that's when magic happens. Do you find it's harder for women to do that, or is that just kind of personality based?
It's harder for women. Yeah.
Let's
It's
talk about that.
just,
Why is
yeah,
that?
because they want to be taken seriously, especially because, I mean, the industry's changing, which it makes me so happy. But I remember 14 years ago when I started going to events, there were barely any women there. And if you saw women, they were the spouses. But now you're
Mhm.
seeing more and more women entrepreneurs. And at first, they will just, they are filtering because, again, they want to be taken seriously. It's male dominated industry in internet marketing. Um, but it's starting to change, which is so nice. I'm seeing more and more people have the friendships and being themselves, and I feel like if every person tries to be themselves, then you're giving others permission to be themselves, and it's just so beautiful. I love it, you know.
Well, we met because of a really amazing and brilliant person called Amber Spears.
Yes.
And Amber has a really amazing group, a mastermind group called Four Rooms Mastermind Group.
Hmm.
If anyone's listening and wants to check that out, it's awesome. And the thing I keep hearing about that group is everybody is so themselves. They're
Yep.
so successful. They're so authentic. They're so engaged with each other. They show up, and they're ready to help and they're ready to open doors. And every person that I meet in that group blows me away, all of them. So I love the fact that we were able to connect through that group. And
Yes.
yeah, tell me a little bit about working with your husband or working with your partner, because
Yeah.
some of the people who are listening to us, I had the privilege of working with my husband for 14 years as we built up all inclusive marketing. Some people kind of cringe at the thought, oh my gosh, you had to work with your husband. Some people said, wow, that must have been really great. You got to spend so much time together. What is your experience like, and how does it work for you guys?
Well, it's definitely not for everyone because I've seen ones that go like really, really bad. The What worked really good for us is I already knew myself so well. I know how I work. So from day one, I told him, because he already had his business. I came on to help, and then that just went to the next level. We just blew it up. But I told him, I just need you to show me what needs to get done, and I take it from there. That's how my personality is. Then I'll take that and just get everything organized and then add on more to it. So he knew that I need to work solo. I can't be micromanaged. If I had to constantly check in with him, it wouldn't have worked. But also learning, the beauty in our partnership is his strengths are my weaknesses and my strengths are his weaknesses. So we actually were the perfect puzzle. And I don't get into things he does, and he doesn't get into things and we that I do, and we both trust each other's decisions. I don't question his decisions. And and vice versa. But we discuss them too, because if he has a decision to make, he's running it by me, and I'll just say, well, and have you thought about this? It's just, I'm not trying to veer him to think to change his mind, but just to, like, we're masterminding basically. Yeah.
That's amazing. And actually, it was the same case with Ian and I.
Hmm.
I was probably in your husband's shoes. He's finance operations tech and would take whatever crazy things were in my head and somehow make them work and make them way bigger than anything I could have done on my own. And same thing, his strengths are my weaknesses, my strengths are his weaknesses. It was a perfect complementary fit. But I
Yeah.
think the thing that made it work too, in addition to the respect and the space, which I agree with, is working towards the same goals or like working towards the same vision for yourselves as a family or as a couple, right?
Yeah.
If you have one person who's got an idea of what your life is supposed to be like or what needs to be like, and the other person's, on a different page pursuing something else, no matter how well you work together, it still is going to be clunky. It's still not going to take off as strongly as if you're aligned and have that, path forward together. Do you find the same thing, or do you think that there's an opportunity if there's two different paths?
Yeah, we have the same goals, which is mostly like the quality of life is important, but we both had to learn it the hard way when it affected our health because we were both working a lot. But our goal right now is to stay in integrity for sure when it comes to business, and also make sure that our health comes first, because when you have your health, you make better decisions in business and life and everything. So that's
Yeah,
important for
absolutely.
us.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of founders and a lot of CEOs and a lot of entrepreneurs sometimes don't know when to stop.
Yeah.
And they do burn out. They have massive health issues, or they have mental health breakdowns, or they have major accidents. So what do you suggest, based on what you've gone through, what do you suggest for people who are kind of grinding day in and day out to slow
Mhm.
down and take care of themselves? Like, what did you guys do, and what's your routine?
I well, first you need to hire people and not do everything yourself. We both had to learn that the hard way. And it's interesting. I remember when Mike first had to lower his hours and hire someone to help him. He At the time he said, okay, if we make 20-25% less, then it's worth it because of the health is number one. The opposite happened. We doubled our business because now he wasn't doing everything. He was only focusing on his superpowers. And same happened with me. Even though I saw it in him, it took me years later to slow down. Same thing. I slowed down, hire people, and I'm only focusing on what I'm good at, and it's just the numbers went up. And
Amazing. We saw something very similar. And what's challenging, what the hard part is though, is letting go. A
yes,
lot of founders and CEOs cannot step out of the weeds because they fear losing control, or they, you know, are perfectionists and they can't leave it with anybody else.
yep,
But you almost have to get out of your own way, right? They become
yeah,
your own worst enemy. They become the bottleneck,
yeah,
right?
oh yeah. And having a morning routine, that is beyond important. We used to wake up and go straight on our computers, but now it's just like a good like 3-4 hours before I get on my computer. I have a nice long morning routine. When I take care of myself, I am so optimized and my head is clear. I get so much more done when I take care of myself first.
Will you tell us about your routine? What do you do? Walk me through a typical day in Nairi's world.
All right. It changes depending on where I'm at, but I'll share my Utah routine because I have my favorite things there. But I wake up in the morning, I start music, I make a greens drink, and then I light an incense, and then after that I'll have coffee, and I go into the hot tub, do hot tub cold plunge cycles while listening to the birds and
Sounds
just
amazing.
it's amazing. I love it so much. And then come out and stretch and go either work out or go for a walk and then come back and eat breakfast, fuel myself, and then And from my walks, I listen to podcasts or music or a book, and then start my day. I used to think, oh my God, I'm wasting time. I could be on my computer right now. But I'm just get so much more done in a shorter time because I took care of myself first.
Interesting. So mental health first. Mental health and fuel your body, calm your mind, clear your mind, and then you can become more productive for the rest of the day.
Absolutely.
What kind of music do you listen to in the morning?
Oh boy, there's so many. I have so many different types of music. I mean, anything. It could be slow, it could be like fast, like EDM, or it could be like Middle Eastern vibes. It could be like Gypsy Kings. It's all over the place, so it depends. But I dance every single day. Even when I'm getting ready, I'm listening to music and I'm moving my hips and dancing. It feels so good, and it puts me in my feminine because I'm so in my masculine. So it's nice to be in my feminine before I dive into that masculine.
You're telling us a little bit about your routine in your
Yeah.
day, right? So you wake up in the morning, have really good breakfast, have some hot cold treatments, listen to some music, move your body around, nourish yourself, and then you get into work mode, right? You get a bunch of really good work done, and then what happens? How do you end your day?
Well, I'm such a social butterfly. I actually socialize 5, 6 days/nights a week. I get fueled by people, and I hang out with like-minded people. They say you're the average of the 5 people you hang out with, and I'm the average of the 1,000 people I hang out with. And yeah, just have boundaries. And if you have a goal in mind, you want to get to a certain place in life, you need to surround yourself with like-minded people who are positive, who are your cheerleaders. um I mean, I've been around people before. They told me, you're a dreamer, you didn't go to college, so that's not gonna work for you. And I'm so glad I didn't listen to any of them. So same with you. Everyone starts somewhere. You can do anything you dream of. You also need action with that dream, and you can do it. You can do anything. You start here and you slowly build it. It's the journey. Enjoy the journey.
And you have shown that so well, not only in life, but in your friendships, in your contributions, and in your business and your personal wealth. And it's incredibly inspiring to see. I got to ask you, what out of all of your investments, you have over 80 investment properties and businesses. Which one is your favorite and why?
Oh, there's so many. Oh man, that's a hard question.
I can ask a different question. Which part of managing your business portfolio do you enjoy the most and the least, and why?
I enjoy the puzzle piece because we have so many entities that they go under. So I enjoy seeing, like, okay, I'm going to invest in this, and this is going to bring me passive income, yet I have this investment which also brings me depreciation that would offset this passive income. It's just such numbers and such tax strategy. I enjoy the tax strategy aspect of it. And when it's too simple, it's almost boring to me. So when it's complicated, I enjoy that.
That's good. It's more fulfilling.
Least I enjoy is filling out reviewing contracts. Even though I have a team. We have lawyers, but still, I want to read the contract because I want to understand what I'm doing because I'm constantly learning. But I don't enjoy contracts.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I think there's a lot of people listening who probably also don't enjoy reviewing contracts. Yeah. But actually, there's probably a lot of people who don't enjoy reviewing numbers either. And it's nice that you have that as a natural interest. Yeah. For the women who are listening to this right now who don't have financial backgrounds, but are really interested in becoming stronger in that area, do you have some resources you would recommend? Like, what's good for people trying to understand how to manage money better, manage budgets, manage resources?
Oh man, that's a great question. listen, I recommend everyone reads Rich Dad Poor Dad. That changed my life. Um, but because also in there and getting the game Cash Flow. I think everyone needs to have the game Cash Flow by Robert Kiyosaki, because it teaches you what's an asset and
Mhm.
what's an what's that
And what's a
and what's a
liability?
liability. Exactly. A lot of people think if their home is an asset. Your home is not an asset. You just keep putting money into it to maintain it. That's not. I think that game simplifies it so you can learn it, and they have that game for little kids too. You can have your kids play that game, so you're programming them into understanding what's a liability and what's an asset. That's what I recommend.
Yeah, I think a lot. Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that assets are things that generate cash flow for you,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
So if you're putting money into something and it's not rendering a return, then it's considered a liability.
Exactly.
So if you want to build your wealth, then you need to build your assets,
Absolutely.
right?
And also when you're investing, so I've seen this with so many people, they are wealthy on paper, but they are broke. That's because they're
Mm-hmm.
not liquid. Well, what does that mean? That means they did not invest in investments that bring them cash flow now. So some of like a lot, all the real estate investments that I have they all produce cash flow quarterly and monthly, and so that's bringing the money in, right? And then where other things like angel investment is more long term, you don't know when they're going to sell, that can take 10, 20 years. That's for the long
Or if
term.
it's even be successful.
Yes.
Yeah, and you hope those companies are going to be successful, but that's also not a
That
guarantee.
is not a guarantee, and I've seen a lot of people invest in so many startups and not having enough investments that bring cash flow now.
So, okay, do you have a recommended blend? Like what percentage of money do you think is appropriate for investing into cash flow positive investments versus long-term investments that might have a higher payout later?
My goal was that we make enough like cash flow coming in from real estate and interest earned to cover our annual expenses. That was my goal, because then I know it's there. So it wasn't more of a percentage. It was more like, again, I like to gamify things. The game was the goal is to have that. So now literally we live off of interest and cash flow. Everything else is gravy, and just invest, 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 keep investing it. So
I think that's the dream, right? Where you can live off of just the interest that you're earning
yeah,
on your
yeah,
assets, and then it just continues to build, in wealth and the value of
yeah,
them. And you find that work-life balance, which you found, which is taking great care of yourself in the morning, doing some very high productivity, efficient work, and then spending your afternoons hanging out with friends and being social and dancing and listening to your favorite music
yes, exactly.
and eating good
And eating
food.
good food, fuel that body with good food. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Well, we appreciate you, Nayri. Thank you so much for joining us today. Sorry for any kind of technical glitches along the way, but we appreciate your patience. And thanks for listening in, everybody. We'll see you on the next
Thank you,
episode.
everyone.
Thanks for listening to the Four Female Founders podcast series. If you enjoyed this episode, please go ahead and hit subscribe, like, or comment below so we can continue to support women in business by helping them thrive, not just survive. We'll see you on the next show.